Hide your cats and dogs. Stone Soup is back 2 days post debate. Um, there will not be a third time, or so Trump says. So we'll call this a second debate post wrap party. I'm sorry. After the last debate, I'm gonna take as much Schadenfreude as I can. Um, now there's an incredible article. There's an article that's up on a place called the National Interest, which is a what they describe themselves as a center left journal. And the one of the articles is the entire world conspiring to make it look like Trump lost the debate? An intriguing theory by Matt Taibbi. If you know anything about Matt Taibbi, you'd laugh. Yes, so it's some interesting. I'm sorry, I went through the whole denial process for like 5 seconds after Biden. Like the last one was like a fight between Reverend Lovejoy and Hans Moleman on The Simpsons. It was devastating. This one was a little bit more reassuring. But anyway, I think someone commented online saying no one talked about genocide after the debate. They just made dog and cat jokes. And at one point, like, yeah, we should stick to the issues. And the other side, I'm going, fuck you, it's funny. But we will. Can't we agree that both those are true? Both sides, both. I can embrace both sides of that being true. The memes alone. But we are now we're moving to the open mic. We got two round robin. Hopefully some other people will be joining us. Love those who couldn't make it this week. And who do we got to start with first? Let's get a preview out of the way for next week as Magister Galt features on the 18th, and let's give a little sneak preview of what's to come next week. Magister Meister, you're all set. You're ready to go.
Okay, am I upset? Okay. I actually brought the poetry of Nicholas Columban again as I was hoping to save my poetry for next week. So this is a poem of his called Poppies. And remember, I told you last week he's a Hungarian American poet, writing out of Budapest. And he came here sometime in his late 20s, early 30s, I guess, and started teaching here. And this is a poem of his called Poppies. I have a field of soft, unruly poppies. Their petals are delicate, oily orange feathers fluttering to the ground. I've noticed, too, the indisputable signs of diminishing life. My glittering, burning poppies thrive for 2 weeks, a May life, then turn gray at the edges, singed by decay. Their stems are the fingers of the old. I love to smell poppies because they have no scent. Their beauty is for my palm and for my eyes because I can still see. Yes, our life is slipping away. We should permit ourselves to do almost anything. And here's another short one. Sandor Vede with Hodgkin's disease. This wreath of herbs on the bottom of my teacup mourns you. You sprawl on your bed, dressed in a jacket made of sackcloth. Your woman has left you. I curl on the bed, cast for her 6.4 frame. What a poor substitute I am, babbling about the calm leaves outside. I make tea, boil potatoes, and wolf down the drumsticks. You eat like a tin sparrow. You speak plaintively of your job where you must browbeat men. I listen and almost doze off, something you can't do. I see you, dear beanstalk, those gnarled hair fucked by medication. the glands swell along your breastbone, pushing your lung rudely aside, making room for death. Thank you very much. And that was Sandor Vede with Hodgkin's disease by Nicholas Columban, my teacher. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. And let's see who we bring up next. We haven't heard from Jan in a week or so, or maybe more. Let's hear from Jan Rowe if she's willing. And you got unmute. There you go.
Yes. Am I unmuted? Okay. So this was in this weekly's the Black Sea Writers. And so already I started to I tend to revise a lot. Okay. It's called Facing Eviction. The one that gives elders a bad name as well as the mentally ill a bad name, that one who's involved in about 3,500 lawsuits. He whined about the other one who has taken more money from the Israel lobby than anyone. So he whined. He has more houses than I do. Well, although Massachusetts has notice to quit, unlike Delaware, for example, so you get a little bit more time. Before COVID, that year, there were 40,000 forced evictions. Now, this isn't like where I grew up, where it's coal company housing. You strike, you're gone. So I'm not alone in advising any facing eviction not to go into the judgment chamber without a lawyer. Even if it's a lawyer you've never seen before, because sometimes Greater Boston and so on, they set up in the hall. The property owners wanting to evict always have a lawyer. A recent widower, his wife died in December. He was evicted by, of all names, Trinity. So I told Dean of the Cathedral, St. Paul's on Tremont there, across from Brewers, Reverend Amy, and this widower is in a wheelchair, pushing himself with one leg. I said that Trinity property better hope there is no God. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. I'm going to bring it to our visual poet as soon as I open the sharing options, and you are welcome to share pages and whatnot. So I'm going to welcome up Mr. Robert Fleming and submit to his Instant Noodles his upcoming holiday issue. The deadline is October 15th, and the publication will be, I believe, in December. But hey, if you can deal with stores putting up Christmas decorations on October 1st, you can send a Christmas poem by October 15th. So let's welcome up Mr. Robert Fleming. I don't know if you're booing. I don't know if you're booing Instant Noodles or booing the holidays, Bill. I'm not sure, but okay.
Booing the holidays, Christmas in October. Burn them at the stake.
Thanks for clarification.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Robert Fleming, a visual poet from Lewis, Delaware, and I'm going to be sharing some goth black and white photography. I was published once before in a literary magazine with all black and white art called the Stray Branch Literary Magazine. They read submissions October through February, so I wouldn't submit until October 1st. I'll put the link in the chat after my share. For art, they're looking for black and white, and what the editor says they're looking for is bold, dark, gothic, ghostly, odd, surreal, edgy, emotional, human, personal, reflective, haunting, unique photography. Nothing boring, cute, or crude, or sexual, or sexually explicit. So I'm going to show what my first submission is going to be. I'm submitting 6 pieces. This is the first one. It's called Sky Number 1. Before at the beginning of the open mic, I was talking with Rick Spivak that one thing you can do with a photograph is that you can extract elements from different photographs and then combine them. This is what I've done here. The background of the clouds was extracted from another photograph that had clouds, and then the 2 white curves were extracted from images of rainbows, which I then converted to a white color. And then this is an image of the clouds, which I extracted from another photograph. Because the magazine is looking for goth, I made the photograph color darker, even more black. And this is a photograph which I took over this past summer. I ended up cutting some of the photograph on the bottom and again making it darker, much darker. And this is the photograph I took probably about 6 months ago. The hole reminds me of like a hole in the ozone almost. Also made this one darker. And then I used Adobe Background Remover and created this image. I'm going to call this Cloud Sasquatch, sort of like a little bit like a monster. And this is my last one I'm submitting for this. It's called Waiting to Shake Hand. I was able to capture the photograph where it looks like the cloud from the top going down has the form of a hand. And thank you for letting me share some black and white photography. And I will put the link in for the Stray Branch submission if anybody's interested in finding more about the magazine.
Hello, thank you, and thank you. Hello again. We're back to group view, and now we're going back to we're now going back to the list. The Ramdinator 5000 selected list. Let's go now to Mr. Richard Spizak. I can't wait to hear his reaction pieces to the last couple of days.
It's been interesting. As I want you to notice, soup's on, by the way. But this first piece, I'm going to share. If I can share screen, here we go. I'm going to bring you a little, hopefully a thought-provoking piece. I'm going to turn to overseas, and what seems to me like nothing more advanced and complicated than a spoiled brat little kid. So this is a take on the Afghan treatment of women as told by a 10-year-old angry little shit. Here we go. Simply silent Afghan women. I've got a sister. She's a big pain. She locked me out one time out in the rain. She always tattles of mom and dad. I get away with nothing. I'm so GD mad. She's a big reader. Her nose is always in books. A heck of an arguer, a big old know-it-all. Boy, does she give me the looks. She gets to stay up later than me. You can see how she always teases and freezes and belittles me. I was watching the news for history class. I don't understand why I must study this to pass. History's boring. There's nothing in it for me. But oh gosh, you'd never guess what the heck that I'd seen. I learned about some dudes in Afghanistan. They thought up something that I think is grand. Women they surely put in their place, out of sight, out of mind, or darn near replace. Sure, they're needed to cook and watch the darn kids, but after that they're silent. It's just what the law did. Cover them complete from their nose to their toes when they're out in public. Not only must they be silent, of them nothing shows. They must be silent when out in the town. Silent, ghost-like, you'd hardly know it when they're around. No more arguing with any of us boys. They've been reduced to silent, invisible, compliant toys behind their black veil in a virtual jail. No matter wherever they go, they can never question a male. I'd like to send my sister. How can I apply? Send her to Afghanistan, no asking when or why. They shut her up once and for all. After that, we'll just see how the GD chips fall. She'll not like it, not one little bit. She has to clam up. No one will have to deal with her no more of her GD lip. Behind all that black veil stuff, she'll never talk. Boy, that'd fix her. She could never even squawk. The last word will simply be mine. And as far as I'm concerned, no more uppity sister be for me just fine. If you consider this Taliban so much lesser as a man, suffice it said up in his head, he finds himself even overmatched by the slightest, smallest women. What he hears her whisper, catched. What a sad little creature, this Taliban man, so much lesser than any man, who must enchain and silence any women rather than on an equal footing deal with them, or even let their voice. He gets so shooken by the power of a woman's voice. Fini.
Thank you, Richard. And check out the link to Stray Branch, courtesy of Mr. Fleming. And submit. And check out the submissions calls I posted on Stone Soup's Facebook page not too long ago. Up next, relative newcomer to our group. Very glad she is with us. Ask her about her arts show, public access show that she does in Beverly, Mass. Let's welcome up Jen Campbell.
Thank you. Thank you. This poem is very silly. It's called Change of Seasons. I claim my pumpkin spice latte for the nice deck gin and tonic of June. See the fall leaves blow past you, revealing October's spiders. Waking midday apple pies and afternoon crisp beers reveal football too. Turning into November's lashes, the skin off a turkey leg. Waiting for jingle bells and the ringing and the ringing and the ringing. We are but bulbs that turn. That's it.
We can always use more silliness. Thank you so much, Jen. And now I'm going to go to, let's go with more silliness. And the Raminator 5000 is selected Bill Lewis.
Oh my goodness gracious! Who would have guessed that I would have this opportunity? Woo-hoo-hoo! Thank you, Chad. I've been waiting for the opportunity. I wasn't sure you were going to call me. I thought you were just going to run over me and I wouldn't have any opportunity to speak anything. And here I get this. Oh, sorry, I get excited by poetry readings, you know. Back when I was your age, we didn't have poetry readings, not where I was. So I never done anything like this. So it's very thrilling. Okay, heart of mine, be still. Oh, there's so much political stuff I could say, none of which I'm going to today. I will think instead about grass. Just grass. Why rye, wheat, barley? I don't know. It's grass. Dulled by the passing of summer, the green is gone and only the tan remains. Lying flat underneath me, and I lie flat where I slept last week, and now where the deer slept, the stalks are too tired. The stalks are too brittle to spring back up, so they lie in great swaths, returning themselves to nature. The stalks, that is, the seeds, oh, the seeds. The seeds are excited, eager to depart, to find a nice bit of hidden soil where the birds won't find them. The stalks that still stand tall, their seeds have a hope of being blown by some errant wind to the furthest corner of the field. But the seeds that form my pillow have no such illusions. No wind to shake them loose. They are easy pickings for the birds, the sparrows, the grasshoppers. And even if they escape the predation and find a safe place in the soil come spring, there'll be 100 other plants, all fighting to establish domain over that 1 square centimeter, which is life and death for a stalk of grass. Me? I just lie there, admiring the clouds.
Go out and touch grass. Rest you do go do likewise. And moving forward, I'd like to go now to where'd he go? Did Mark States leave us? It looks like he did.
I see him.
Oh no, here he is. I don't know why I couldn't see you all of a sudden. Did you hide? But anyway, Mr. States, you're up next.
Why, thank you very much. The prompt was insomnia. Eyes wide open. I am your worst nightmare, he growled, squeezing through a handful of youngsters like a bear out of the dim cave of an entrance to the Burger King at 13th and Broadway. Shoulders tight, arms raised, chest puffing, eyes bulging, darting towards me. I turned square to face him, unsurprised and unalarmed. And I'm the reason Freddy Krueger stays up all night, afraid to go to sleep. He froze, as if a time bubble encasing him stood still. The doorway cave filling with a cacophony of guffaws, whoops, oh damns, and much foot stomping and arm waving. The hype men of the apocalypse done switch sides. Forget Nick Cannon. This is Mark's Wildin' Out, coming to you live again from downtown Oakland. Latinum team wins and prances off stage holding winner's belt overhead. Mr. Worst Nightmare remains motionless, mouth and eyes wide open. I suspect he did not sleep well that night. People ask me if I stay up half the night thinking up this stuff. What? No, I lived it. No, they say. The Freddy Krueger line. Do you stay up half the night thinking up shit like that? You know, tossing and turning the page over after sweating and scratching at the edges of the college-rolled sheets, trying to relax and get into a peaceful state of bliss, but nervously pacing the floor and mean-mugging the clock and grabbing the throat of the idea, blinking like neon through the window of your mind, yet the cursive glass bulb is both unreadable to the uninitiated and too expensive to edit an incorrect word. And besides, it's 3 a.m. And at 8 a.m., you're supposed to be on the job, flipping the switch to activate the "We're open" neon sign. Do I stay up half the night thinking up these retorts? Nah. Somebody pops off at the mouth. I say something back. Pretty simple, actually. Just don't sleep on me, because it may be hazardous to your emotional health. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We are going now to what I hope is our musical interlude. He already put himself on his camera on in anticipation. Good man. Mr. Ethan Mackler, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Ethan. And closing out the first of our two round robins is Oddball Magazine's columnist. It's all one thing. Fame, Mr. James Van Loy. We just call him every Thursday at 11 a.m.
Thanks, Chad. So I have a poem here called Boston from the First. It's about coming to the city. From the first, there was this eerie feeling of macabre deja vu about old Beatontown, which was impossible, quite impossible, because this was the East Coast, a big city with public transit, museums, and universities, and 2 newspapers. While I came from Bay City, Michigan, this mid-sized, Midwestern town of the late 19th, early 20th century of the great lumber boom, and then obstinate holdout against the car craze that followed the sculpting of the land of its forest headdress. The scions of the lumber barons controlled the shipyard and the scrap iron. The few businesses in town that kept the automobile factories and their workers, especially the dark-skinned ones, out. While they sat on the boards, controlled the charities and institutions, leaving town hall to the Polish Poles from the South End. Saginaw, way up the river, became 5 times as large, smoking with ball-bearing plants and bustling with GM paychecks, while Bay City stayed, well, Bay City. But when Saginaw's downtown was boarded up storefronts, Bay City still had a shopping center. Meanwhile, in Boston, I'm trying to figure out why these people keep acting this way. Who are these people keep getting elected, and where do they come from anyway? When I have the unfailing sense much of what they do really doesn't matter anyway when push comes to shove. The interests of the people who live here, actually live and work here and pay mortgages and taxes and water bills and electric, don't seem to matter a hoot and hollering hell. Is certainly these banks and insurance companies, these huge glass and steel towers filled with myriad ant-like workers whooshing, slooshing in every day from someplace else where lives the foundations and the charities, the institutions and the board members who allow them Irish Poles to own City Hall, but as little else as possible. And let me give you a quick song here. There's a world where I can go and tell my secrets to. In my room, in my room, in my room. In this world I block out all my worries and my fear. In my room, in my room, in my room, do my dreaming and my scheming lie awake and pray. Do my crying and my sighing laugh at yesterday. Now it's dark and I'm alone, but I won't be afraid. In my room, in my room, in my room, in my room. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Van Loy. And we're gonna pass go, collect $200 and start the second round of the round robin. And thank you guys for coming out on a Thursday of all days. if we weren't missing so many friends, I'd be like, huh, should this be the new day? But I like Wednesdays, so we'll stick with that for now. And let's bring back another poem from a friend of Mr. Edward F. Galt, who's the feature for next week. I hope you all show up for that.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, this is from, again, Nicholas Columban. This poem is called Budapest. I'm above the Danube in a rented room. Pictures of menacing birds. I hear an owl or a seagull. Drink thick red wine. This patron of weak stomachs. Eat gingerly lean ham. Not to violate my intestines. I am an alien who speaks the language but stumbles on the rocks of custom. Only a few talk to me. I could as well be in London. I give myself pep talks, praise my walrus mustache, my loud shirt that never wrinkles. Unlike my moods, I watch soap white women dash toward the metro, hard-assed in high heels. With every step, their legs quiver like aspic. I lock my room while I take a shower, then admire the view. A glittering necklace hovers on the Danube, a taut, lit-up bridge. In the next room, two whores whisper in German, unaware that I can understand. The last customer has left, a noisy Japanese. Now they kiss. The popping of champagne bottles. I'm above the Danube in a rented room. And then one more short one. A native tourist in Hungary. My daughter is asleep with her chin propped up in her palm. She is a relative of Kant, an inventor of thoughts. Is she contemplating the absence of playmates, the food that makes her cough, her father's gibberish that he has never forgotten, the incomprehensible shop talk of restaurants? My friend escorts me to his kitchen, this lair of intimacies where friendships are murmured, nurtured, and revived. Sour cherries bloom in the artificial light above the table. The pits are the color of human gums. I empty the bowl while we ruminate about sailing, an activity that is alien to me. I was born clumsy. We praise skating, heating gasoline, burning sulfur, stuck in an apartment locks, things we had indulged in as childish rascals. My friend has a scar from the bridge of his nose to his chin. He received it while dueling cancer, aided by the doctor's blade. His tan mutes the horror. Well, thank you very much for that. And again, that was Nicholas Columban from his book, Reception at the Mongolian Embassy. Thank you.
R.I.P. And thank you. And thank you. I'm looking forward to your feature next week, sir.
Thank you.
And up next, back again, Miss Jan Rowe.
You go.
So I made the front page of the Weekly Black Sea Writers, but I didn't edit this. It's called Victory. And I use We Believe in the Victory of Good Over Evil from Bob Marley and the Wailers. So a member of this writing group years ago became housed after living in 500-acre Benjamin or Franklin Park. we, in honor of housing, had given him a Target gift certificate. So en route to the writing group, he had taken out and opened his wallet to give a bill to a beggar. The person asking for money grabbed the wallet and took off running with his wallet. So the theft victim came over to tell me this. Although robbed of his wallet, he continued on to the Black Seed Writers. Another really good writer soon after came into Sprode Hall, the Cathedral of St. Paul, 138 Tremont, opposite Brewer's Fountain. So he was carrying the theft victim's wallet. So this guy, also a really good writer who often takes us with him, as good writers do. So he had seen the whole event and retrieved his fellow writer's wallet from the trash where the robbing beggar had thrown it, and it still had the gift certificate in it. Thank you. It's a good one.
Yes, dear.
Happy ending. Thank you, Jan. And let's take it back to Mr. Robert Fleming.
Good evening. I'm going to share some more black and white photography manipulation. This was originally the first photograph was much lighter. The primary manipulation on this was the lighting filter to make it darker. And this is also a winter scene where I made the image darker in black and white. The next work was inspired by the cinematographer from the movie The Shining. His name was Brown. And in this photograph, I would say, or in film setup, he sort of made the set or the image whitewashed. And that was my intention with this photograph, to make it very white, seem like whitewashed. This is another photograph which I extracted elements from another photograph, and this was leftover tree branches. This is an original, this was the original photograph which I took probably about 2 years ago. And then I just extracted the branches and made them darker. And that's all I had left. And I also made another version where the branches were purple. So thank you for letting me share some more black and white photography, which was very manipulated.
Thank you, Robert. And now we return now to Soupçon Man himself, Mr. Richard Spizak.
Thank you, good people. I have a little something for you that I hope will amuse you. Let's see. Should I do a serious one, or let me go ahead and grab one of my Kamala ones. It'll just take a second. A little bit amusing, hopefully. And let's see here. 1 second. I was going to stay serious, but I don't feel serious right now. It's been too crazy a day. Okay, here we go. This is a piece called Ishi, and it seems that people want to question what exactly her heritage is, and as if it was some of their business, Oh, goodness. 1 second more. I'm so sorry. I had planned on reading something serious. Ah, there we go. Is she? Is she Indian or is she French? I'm not quite sure what it is they've dumped and pumped and puffed us up into this silly trench and dump. But were she Swiss, does it follow she'll always swing and miss, best bat hollow? I'm not quite sure how we got to this. Were she Swede or Lordy Bantu? I'm not quite clear how it's really up to you. If she was Parisian or perhaps a Czech, I'm not quite sure what you'll say next. She's got good references, worked for Law and Order as a prosecutor. She clearly worked to reduce disorder. She has a plan to help kids stay in school. Isn't that what we'd really want them to do? Keep at it, keep them learning, if only to reduce the city's burning. But if you're convinced that she's Hawaiian and somehow she'd never really want to be trying, and if she Argentinian proved to be, could she therefore never cross the Zuyder Zee? And if Italian she proved bereft of virtue, is it only nature and never nurture? And if her parents were raised by nuns, could she never dance or have fun? And if by laughing she some joy permits, must her children therefore be hermits? And if upon the Arctic Circle she traveled, would her plans for justice all unravel? And if we elect her, won't she try? If you say no, I wonder what it is you've got stuck somehow there deep in your eye. However, in my opinion, were she Martian, should be better by half than that blinking Trumpy who's so weird and so very daft. Thank you.
Boom. Thank you, sir. Oh, and happy birthday. Your birthday was yesterday, so hope you
Thank you.
enjoyed it.
72 years on the planet. I plan on making people laugh for many years yet to come.
Please do.
Such are the plans of little human beings, huh?
There you go. That's a lofty plan. I'll make my girlfriend laugh every day. Good Lord. And the trouble, which is, normal life, but the problem is I try. But anyway, let's go now to Jen Campbell. I think has one more poem for us.
I do. It's titled, Here's My Best Bet. Doubled over I wait. I am frozen in time and grasping at broken straws. We are torn up leaves and bits of pumpkin waiting for fall dressed in orange. Can I find an action plan more over than overs? Sweet release, unending, and a whisper and a prayer.
What? And we swing back to Silly and Mirthville. We go full circle to Mirthville and Silly with Mr. Bill Lewis.
Well, thank you, Chad. It is always a great pleasure and honor to be here. Sometimes I like to read my own poetry, no matter how bad it is, and sometimes I just get inspired by other people, and you know how that goes. When poetry feels so good and so beautiful and so intoxicating and confusing, and you just love it, even though you don't even know what it means. Now, as I was young and easy under the apple boughs, about the lilting house, and happy as the grass was green, the night above the dingle starry, time let me hail and climb, golden the heydays of his eyes. And honored among wagons, I was prince of the apple towns. And once below a time I lordly had the trees and leaves trail with daisies and barleys down the rivers of the windfall light. And as I was green and carefree, famous among the barns, and about the happy yards, and singing as the farm was home, in the sun that is young only once, time let me play and be, golden the mercies of his means. And green and golden, I was huntsman and herdsman. The calves sang to my horn, and the foxes on the hill brought clear and cold, and the Sabbath rang slowly in the pebbles of the holy streams. All the sun longed was running. It was lovely, the hay fields high as a house, the tunes from the chimney. It was air and playing, lovely in water, fire green as grass. And nightly under the simple stars, as I rode to sleep, the owls were bearing the farm away. All the moon long I heard, blessed among the stables, the nightjars flying with the ricks and the horses flashing in the dark. And then to awake in the farm like a wanderer white with the dew, come back the cock on the shoulder. It was all shining, it was Adam and maiden. The sky gathered again, and the sun grew round that very day. So it must have been after the birth of the single light. In the first spinning place, the spellbound horses walking warm out of the winning green stable onto the fields of praise. And honored among foxes and pheasants by the gay house under the new-made clouds, and happy as the heart was long, in the sun that is born over and over, I ran my heedless ways, my wishes raced to the high house hay, and nothing I cared at my sky blue trades. The time allowed as all his tuneful turning, so few in such morning songs, before the children, green and golden, follow him out of grace. Nothing I cared than lamb white days that time would take me, up to the swallow thronged loft by the shadow of his hand. In the moon that is always rising, nor that riding to sleep I should hear him fly in the high hay fields, and wake to the farm forever fled from the childless land. Oh, as I was young and easy in the mercy of his means, time held me green and dying, though I sang in my chains like the sea. Fern Hill, Dylan Thomas.
Nice choice given your background. Your background and where you are, which are one and the same. Thank you, Bill. Back to Mark States.
I recognize that your thoughts have declared independence from reality, and how that gives you some sovereignty over your surroundings and all that. However, as a sovereign nation of my own, on the solid footing of the ground or concrete or lawn upon which I stand, and rooted in the knowledge that the air I breathe exists as a scientific fact, even though I cannot see it. I too have a boundary that extends to the limit of being able to hear you in person without the aid of a megaphone or cell phone. So I suggest you withdraw behind this territorial limit out of hearing range. I have no interest in this Vulcan mind meld you fantasize. Your thoughts to my thoughts. Just because your thoughts flow from your jaws like a broken sewer main and flood the rest of the block. Take a walk, take a bike, take public transit if you have to, just don't take your time. Go plant your flag of independence any place that ain't mine.
Whereas on the rap group Onyx put it best in their first album title, "Back the Fuck Up." let's let's go now Nice. Let's go now to the music of the Mackler, of the Mackler daddy, the daddy Mackler himself, Ethan Mackler. Thank you, Mr. Daddy, Ethan Mackler, the Mackler Daddy himself. And up next, the person who I thought was going to be closing until until Mr. Gager popped up.
I don't want to just jump in and read something without hearing other people. I always find that
Well,
rude.
let's have Mr. Van Looy come in and read, and maybe I'll read something, and maybe you'll reconsider, because it would be nice to have you on the mic,
Yeah,
especially
'cause
since you're going to be
I
a
don't want to
future
be
feature.
rude to Rick, Mark, and Robert and Bill, and I know the how
I
things
think
work.
everyone would. I think all those people know you well enough and have been to your venues well enough that they wouldn't begrudge you.
Let's debate this.
Oh,
Okay, okay. I
no.
welcome Timothy to read, and I look forward to it.
Thank you. Thank you to the distinguished gentleman from Delaware. Is there
I
even slightly?
move that he shave his beard.
Well, it came from here, Bill, and it ended up there. I don't know what happened to your chin, but mine fell right into place.
Is your beard real or is it glued on?
Jesus.
Oh, it's like an extension, you know. I use the hair extensions.
Oh,
You guys keep feeding me the straight lines. Just keep
It's a
feeding-
weave. He's wearing a weave.
I could in the summer I could braid it. So I was going with a pro wrestler. Like, all right, I mean, whatever order you want to put us in, Chad, I'll read if that's okay with people.
Okay, thank you to the additional comments from the undistinguished gentleman in Idaho. But
Very
I'm fucking with you, Bill. Let's go to Mr. James Van Loy, Abdal Collins.
Okay. So this is from a series of poems I did called Synchronicity Strikes Again. Exactly just only one day after my old teacher of Okinawan karate, the left-handed sword Z, the swirling student of Tibetan guru Trungpa Rinpoche, unexpectedly calls to say hello. How you doing? For the first time in years, I discover, forlorn and abandoned, as I, who have just lost my mother to the dread quicksand flesh of lung cancer, of this empty, self-devouring Shakti Shiva universe, on a bookshelf in a homeless shelter, where it seems nothing or no one can be saved, I discover and rescue broken binding pages ready to fall out of paperback. The Foundations of Tibetan Mysticism, written in 1956, published in 1960 by a Dutchman who spent 2 decades studying in Tibet, Lama Angarika Govinda. And reading his preface, I finally perceived some flash of significance I never saw before in Tibetan Buddhism as the last protected vessel of ancient Indian and Buddhist thought, and much more important practice carried almost unmolested by colonialism into this late 20th century materialism, and somehow saved for us by one of my distant paternal line Dutchman kin, writing just before the commie onslaught 60 years ago. He even mentions Christian Gnosticism. So, the Foundations of Tibetan Mysticism joins the book on Gnosticism in my bag to be read in tandem, a delirious duo of chance delight. And I'll just leave it there. Thank you. Oh.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Van Loy. Let's see if I have anything. I might as well do the last Stone Soup Crouton from last week, of course. Do. This one's called Old Schoolmates from the September 4th reading. Old schoolmates, brothers, stone sifters in playground center before first class. Eulogies bore them, real devil's party during day. Leave passed out girls behind, thanks left like skimpy tips. Companions pick out these boys. Companies pick out these boys fast from graduation line. Boys bond forever, tell tales out of school, make them true. Their soul crop is rot, cocks out throbbing like eternal migraine. Trees crouch when they drive by. We're all streetwalkers asking for hit. They'd trade whips for roses. If every ass wasn't as if every ass wasn't. I'm sorry. They trade whips for roses. If every ass wasn't promised to be theirs. Ugh, I'm all tuckered out from the reading from before. We are now going to finish up with Mr. Timothy Gager, who's I know can tell you is definitely going to be a Stone Soup feature sometime in the fall, and is going to be celebrating the release of his new book of poetry. So I am looking forward to that.
Yeah,
Let's take it away, Mr. Gager.
just came out yesterday, but as always, when I release a book, somehow I never read from the book. So I'm going to read from. I went to Chad's feature last night, so I was inspired to write this poem. So I started it at the coffee shop, and it's not finished, but it's something. It's called Replies Rhetorically to Myself During the Debate. In some states, babies are killed after they are born. Imagine that. Imagine seeing a gravestone denoting a singular date from a live birthday abortion. It's the date to choose life and death. Imagine that doggy or kitty went outside and were eaten by an illegal. Seeing doggy and kitty's blood on the face of a migrant from the window of your kitchen, The Walking Dead live in real time. They are eating dogs. But brains, desperately needing brains. I don't think the candidate has proof of this.
That's definitely the concept of a poem. Do you want to do one? Do you want to do one more?
Yeah, let me dig something up. I'll dig something up from here. Hold on.
That'd be awesome.
Look at that. I got my face coming out of my nose. I will do one of this is a very serious book, a lot of it with my father's death and my depression, but the very last section is more humorous. You guys all know John Wessex?
Yes.
He shows up at Stone Soup. Do you remember during the pandemic, John Wessex was at 2 or 3 poetry readings every single day on Zoom, and he used to write poems about poets that he knows? All right. Poem about John Wessex in the style of John Wessex's poems about poets that he knows. John is on a Zoom call from Argentina, spotted on camera by Pete Aquafina. In Woburn, he said he met the poet in Mexico on Wi-Fi week in a bathroom at Texaco. Such a strange and modern way to meet, especially for John. Pete lives up the street. But John is everywhere, like the air that's around, attending every reading that can be found. As a globetrotter from his living room, that's what he does on a Zoom. Impossibly attended 24 and 24 hours, all watched without food or even a shower. Such precision, he unmutes or mutes. The toots or a loud, distracting flute. To us poet, John's a legend, and I've said everything I wanted to wedge in.
Oh no.
For John Wessex.
That's perfect. And he actually wrote a poem called Chad Parento's Poutine, which I'm dying for him to read.
When he
I'm
used to
dying
show,
for him to read. He sent it to me, but he missed last week's, and he's not here tonight. So it's just like, did he finish his poem and we're never gonna see him again? I don't know. I'm sorry if I was the impetus of that. He's like, my work is done, and he just walks away to the next to the next poetry gathering.
he says, it's so funny, like every Dyer feature that I had, whatever the subject was, if they wrote a memoir on this, that, or the other thing, he would come up, he writes so much, he'd always have the subject like, hold on, there's a spotted leprechaun memoir. I happen to have a poem I wrote about a spotted leprechaun.
Chad, after you hear John's poutine poem, you're going to need penicillin.
Quite likely. Very likely.
It's just a routine poutine.
Oh. I don't know if I can forgive you for that one. Yeah, maybe I can. Good Lord. So,
Rick's
and
just
with that,
shaking his head. He's just
Oh,
shaking his head on that.
on that note, it's time to bid us all farewell. I will look forward to seeing you guys when we return to our regular day. And we welcome back Edward Galt, but not as a fellow open micer, but as a feature. And hopefully more announcements for features in the next few weeks are going to be made. I have a lot of deadlines to make in the next 36 to 48 hours. So I am going to so hopefully I'll be able to make one of those announcements before the weekend starts. And we will go from there. So thank you guys very much for your patience and the scheduling and the waiting for new faces, old faces coming. It's going to happen, and I appreciate you guys being around. And I'm looking forward to Edward Galt featuring the same week as Jack Power's birthday, which I believe is September 17th. So welcome. So thanks again. We do the obligatory wave, and I look forward to seeing each and every one of you, and even more if you bring a friend next time. And thank you guys very much. Show's over. See you next time.